Alrighty, welcome back to a Thrashing code session. Today I'm going to continue where I left off with the previous Go code and move forward just a little bit to clean this up, but also look at some pull requests that are out on GitHub now. As I noticed when I did the push whenever it was that I did this, I did the push, and this is still sitting here on this machine telling me to go here to check out the GitHub pull request. So I'm going to click that, Control-click to follow. Let's see, what does it open up? All right, Firefox. And wow, don't pull the CSS or anything. That is really interesting. So let's just go out to the root and see if I can get a better response to the page. Wow, that's really gnarly. So anyway, we'll just take a gander via this, oops. So other Firefox. All right, there we go. Now it shows up. I don't know what's flaking out on that. Anyway, so go into Coligari here where I sent that pull request. Come in here and take a look at the Go CQL stuff. Oh, I need to sign in too. I'm just having all sorts of difficulties today. Oh, hold on. There we go. All right. So just going to lull for a minute. Wait for people to prospectively join. Alrighty, after that huge lull, let's take a gander at this pull request. So this is not a very well-formed pull request that I made to myself that just has some of this sample code for getting GoCQL pulled into, or making a request using GoCQL. It basically includes this right here, where it sets up a new cluster with the connection point being localhost. Then it looks for, or it sets the key space to munge to Coligari, and then it creates a session based off of that clustered key space to work against with CQL. So you can then issue the CQL commands against that database cluster. The defer here is a Go feature where it initiates a connection, and then when that connection, known through compilation, is closed or done, it will just defer closing it until you're done with that connection. So that's generally how the defer feature or defer command works in Go. So that's really it for the GoCQL pull request. So there's not a whole lot to it. I believe it all checks out with the build still. So I'm going to go ahead and merge the pull request. I'm going to delete that branch. And then there was another pull request too that I did autonomously of any actual work I did on a Twitch stream. I just added configuration options. Now, this one's a little trickier. This is something you might actually run into IRL, right? You're working, all of a sudden you pull something and you're like, oh, great, my branch is out of sync with whoever's doing stuff. Of course, in this scenario, my branch is out of sync with my branch, but we're gonna fix that right now. So let's see here. The first thing I need to do is see what's up. So branch has conflicts, blah, blah, blah. You need to pull them down. So GitHub is really cool in that it gives you the steps of what to do, which is pretty sweet. I'll pull up a terminal here. There we go. And oops, clear. That is the wrong terminal. Please hold. So this project is in source, GitHub, Thrashing code. Oh, what? Where the hell is this project in here? Oh, boom. CD codes, then source, GitHub, Thrashing code, Goligary. So I'm going to check my build real quick, just where it's at. All right, and then I'm going to do git pull all. That's going to pull all the branches so I can merge and do all that stuff locally. And I also want to do pull origin master. That's here, and I'm going to set the upstream so that it tracks accordingly. Upstream to origin master. Oh no, it's branch. Actually, let's see here. All right, I'm on GoCQL, so I don't want to merge that just yet. Git status, nothing. So I'm going to check out master. I'm going to git pull origin master. There we go. So there's a few changes there. I don't really know why those changes were there. Haha, lol. I am currently using Visual Studio Code. I do also use Goland sometimes. The JetBrains tool IDE right here. It's pretty slick, offers a little bit more insight into the code as you're working, but Visual Studio Code is just kind of lean, mean, gets right in there, opens a little faster, a little easier to work with when I'm not doing really intensive refactoring or anything like that. Oh yeah, so all right, so I'm on master, and then I'm going to merge. Oh, now I forgot the name of the branch already. I'm going to merge the GoCQL tests. Well, that's ridiculous. Oh, I still have some of the GoCQL code in here. I didn't remove it, but it also shows that's something weird. The code is out of sync with what's actually in the repo there. But all right, so I'm going to check out GoCQL tests. I'm going to get merge with master. Yeah, okay, now it's both ways. Let's see if I can get a build off of this. Standard renderer for the integrated terminal appears to be slow on your computer. Would you like to switch to the alternative DOM-based? No, I don't actually want to. All right, so I get a build still, Goligary. Okay, it crashes because currently I don't even think I have the container running with the cluster in it, or the single node. Yeah, so there's nothing running for it to connect to, so of course it would bomb out. And then if I run Caligari Deluge, it should just say, yeah, okay, some basic documentation stuff. Yeah, that looks good. This builds even though there's a squiggly. Cannot find package. So maybe if I run dep ensure to pull in vendor packages, it will still not find it. I mean, it builds, so obviously the package is there. If I go in here and I look in vendor, and then go CQL, yeah, there it is. All of the bits, all of them. So I'm not sure why code and its squiggly here thinks that I don't have it there. So anyway, on that note, so I'm going to add this minor formatting edit. Oops. And yep, so let's go back and look at, wonder if this is working yet. So the reason my browser was flaky, I'm pretty confident, is the session state just wasn't synced up yet because it's in a virtual machine. Meh, whatever. Where's my other editor here? All right, I merged that. Do I have a good build off of it? Let's go check. Go to Travis. It's currently in the process of doing a build. Last one was 26 days ago. Oh, that's for something completely unrelated. Never mind. So it looks like this one built in 29 seconds. This one's building in not 29 seconds. I'm going to actually cancel that build. And let's go back to GitHub. Up to the issues. That's a good question. Viable clan member. Let's actually go look at that. Let's go see if Goland will find the dependency versus Visual Studio Code. As you can see, it takes quite a bit longer to get Goland loaded, but there it's running the indexing and everything, so it should find the dependency. I bet it will. Let's see if it's actually, yeah, it's in there here, obviously, because that's the same directory we were just looking in. Looks like the dependency was found. So then let's run. Let's run the, where's the terminal? Tool windows, terminal. And I always run the terminal session from Goland. If you've watched previous sessions, you'll see that I've run into all sorts of issues where this session is not the user session. It's a different session initiated specifically for the IDE. Well, that's obviously not. There we go. Go build. Too many errors. See, let's see if this works actually. Edit configuration. This is where that session state is out of whack, because GoLand it probably has no session set up for GoPath or the Go root or anything like that. So I wonder if this will see how that build works. No, it blows up too. Okay. Go back to the terminal. Still blowing up. Yep. Let's source the bash file and then see if we can build. No, it still does it. If we go to the terminal though, as you can see, go build. And boom. Come on. Hurry up. Build faster. Yeah, see? And if I run it, Colligary runs, but of course, again, no database to run. So yeah, this is one of the reasons that GoLand is just kind of flaky. You have to get all these variables, environment variables and such set up specifically for it. So if I go in here and then environment variables, like if I go in here and add what is currently in the bash profile. So let's do code. Actually, you know what? Bash RC. And then we make these two. So path needs to be this one. Path. And then go path. Theoretically, of course, this should work. Yeah, you basically got it. GoLand is running in its own user session state or user session thing. So like you have to load environment variables, as I'm doing right here, autonomously of your actual terminal and user session. So let's see here. I mean, in a sense, that's kind of good practice because then you really know what's running in your environment. There's not a bunch of autonomous stuff, but previously declared at Yeah, it doesn't seem to do it either. I don't know what the deal is. So yeah, back to code in the terminal. But it doesn't, where's that code? I'll bet you it doesn't show a squiggly line. Like something actually finds the vendored stuff. Yeah, if I go into imports, yeah, see there's no squiggly. It finds the vendor dependency and everything. But it doesn't build because it doesn't have the keys or something and all the other jazz and the go path and whatever else. So it's flaking out. Its paths are all messed up. So whatever, even though this shows an error, it's actually working. Yeah, see, it's still working. So actually, I can just do it in here, get status. I'm going to close this one, close that. All right. I have the one change, and I'm in master, so git add commit, adding single change to master branch for Go CQL. Okay, so theoretically, GitHub should be able to see that without an error now. One closed. Well, let's go look at it. Oh yeah, of course. Okay. All right. So that one is done. So now let's go look at the configuration, which is still flaked out. So we'll I'm going to actually open the terminal for this one. We'll just do it side by side. Yeah, that's one of the things. Like if you don't like it to run on system services, then you can use the JetBrains stuff and it doesn't run on system services or the user services or whatever. So your bash profile or bash RC or whatever won't be conflated with anything. You'll just have to load it up all autonomously, but you have to make sure your entire environment is set up specifically for the IDE. So, you know, you might love it, you might hate it. Right now, I ain't messing with it because I don't want to spend a bunch of time fiddling with an IDE. I'll fix it later. And then it'll magically work in an upcoming session. All right, so git fetch origin. Oh, yeah, derp. Codes. Source, GitHub. Thrashing code, Caligari. All right, now, so git fetch origin. I'm going to check out the added configuration up in origin, added configuration. All right, so that's checked out. And then, let's see where we're at. Go build. Oh yeah, okay, that looks right. Let's do dep ensure. That should add that dependency, and then I can do, let's see if go build works now. And wow, the build's real slow on this machine for some reason. Anyway, it built, so we're all good. Let's run Caligari. That looks fancy. And then we'll run this with Deluge. There it is. All right, so this, I know the configuration is in there. I don't know where I wrote the fuck on there. We'll go figure it out in just a minute. So this is merged. And I'm going to actually do git merge master. What? Oh yeah, so by doing a build, I've dorked up some stuff, so I'm going to add these things. I'll go ahead and add the binary. What the heck? Doesn't really matter. So add, or pulled, fetched, whatever. What did I do? Fetched, added configuration for merge with master. All right, so git merge master. Now, all right, there we go. Now we got broke stuff. Of course, Caligari is flaked out because it's got two different builds. I honestly shouldn't even be checking it in, so let's go and fix that right now. We're going to add the binary. Caligari. I just simply don't need the binary, period. So that is now in the git ignore file. So let's add the git ignore file. Git comment, commit. Comment is added the executable build file to the ignore file. Oh yeah, so let me fix the stupid merge files first. So we have lock. There we go. Okay. Oh, this could be prospectively gnarly, but we're just gonna work through it. So we want to have GitHub fs notify. I think that's cool. Taking a look at something. So fs notify. Is it on? It's not on this branch. So project. I believe that the easy way to do this, actually, is I'm going to nuke the lock file. Since I haven't changed versions, and I'm not very far in, I'm just going to nuke these 2 bits and run dep ensure again. Oops, dep ensure. Yeah, the binary doesn't get to go to get heaven. Import scan. Noted. All right, so this is part of the, it's part of the long comment. It took the long out though. Long. Oh, it's a tilde because it's multi-line, and then comma for the run. That should work for that build part. Clear. That's a string found. Deluge. There we go. So get rid of head. Master and such and such. I think I want, yeah, I want that. And tilde says what? Unexpected string found var. No, it's not cracking. Am I missing a tilde? I wonder. Hopefully not. Let's save that. Try go build. Found bunches of stuff. No, that ain't a tilde. That's up arrow, right? Tilde is the little thing with the, oh, that's the tilde. I'm sorry. This is the, oh yeah, the other thing. That's the backtick. That doesn't need to be there. Where's the 67? There isn't even that. Oh, root. Oh, of course. This gnarly bit up here. So that's, don't need that. That is a dependency indeed. So it's go CQL because they're both in here. Now where am I getting stuff? Go CQL and any, right. That is true. So let's dep ensure now. So, yep. Since I nuked the toml files, I need to init it. And that should create a new toml file, a toml, or lock file and toml file. And that'll have all the updated dependencies in it. And of course, Visual Studio Code is going to tell me that the packages don't exist, even though they probably will be there in just a second if they're not already there now. There's Go SQL. It's in there. Looks like it got everything. Uh-oh, root 61. Where is this at? 61. Oh, here we go. Crazy mess down here. Oh yeah, so this is actually the code that I added in this branch, which for whatever reason is out of sync. I did something, goofed it up, but here's the Go SQL code that just tests out and pulls this session, which should technically still break, but also and it is in the root command. And then I have this other thing in the root command where the configuration file, if null, I need to do a check here, but I pull the home directory, I add it to the config path using Viper to set up the configuration file to be colligary.yaml. And in Colligary, I have made a port and a connection URI as such. I don't really know why I called it a database. We'll refactor that in just a second and see what we get. And those values are pulled. If there's any errors, it'll report them here in the config file error, or it can't decode it, whatever. And then let's see here. And in this process, it reads in the config file, so then it becomes, where did I put my type? Oh, here we go. So this is, if I go to definition, a simple type struct, which has two structs in it for server and database. I just made up some stuff and went with it, and I'm going to change these out to be more specific to what I actually need. Like, I don't even actually need a port. I don't know why I added a port. There's also the config, but this is going to be specific to the application data schema config, not particularly specific to the application configuration itself. This config that I added via Viper is only for things like starting up and keeping local state files or something like that. But anyways, all right, all that's there. Let's see if we get a build now. Undefined, homedir, and Viper. So let's try ensure again. Because I'll bet, yeah, I pulled it up before it could do anything, and I don't see either of those in there, so that would be a problem. Same thing in, let's see here. Did it get them? What fussiness? It is not picking it up. So let's go back to root. Oh, okay. So it's not even listed here. Yeah, now the page is working, right? So I just want the path. Let's do this. No, not. Come on, IDE, stop screwing around. So that is in the root now, and I should be able to use the object in here, which is what I do. So I pull the configuration colligary.database.connection URI. So it also gives me the dot syntax, the way I set it up with the structs. So now let's see. It should not build, but it should actually find it when I do def ensure now. Undefined homedir 65. And that's complaint exported function execute should have comment or be exported. Whatever. It's part of the junk that's put in there when I generated this. 6516. Oh, yeah, it's not listed up there either. I guess that's something else that didn't map right. So it is github.com/ oh, not thrashing code. GitHub SPF. No, it found Doing home dir now, which is Mitchell H home dir. Like that. Whoops. No. There it is right there, actually. Interesting. I guess I have it somewhere else, but not in this file where it needs it. What? It was weird that it took it out. Dash. There we go. So GitHub, Mitchell H, go home dir. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. I need to have it declared somewhere, but it's not declared at all. It's right here. It's being assigned to home. All right, this is pissing me off. Putting it back one more time. Mitchell H, go dash home dir. All right, leave it alone. It keeps taking it out. Okay, that's some crazy stuff. All right, when in doubt with crazy stuff. Haha. What the hell? Oh. Wrong directory. I mean file, so we'll go into root and we'll just add it in this way. This will let me save it without the arbitrary check. So now maybe we can get it pulled this time. So the file is saved. I'm going to close it so that Visual Studio Code doesn't arbitrarily try to take something out of it again. All right, so and then go build. All right, that worked. So talk about IDE hell. I'm going to start using a freaking plain text editor at this rate. All right, so let's look at where we are overall. Got all that stuff added. Added merge of configuration with master. I don't really know what this the crazy vendor directory is either. Like, is this like vendor directory 2? I know how to fix all of this. There we go. Okay. Some crazy IDE BS. But it looks like things are where they need to be. I wonder if it's still going to say, it's still, yeah, the IDE is still flaked out here. I mean, maybe it's out of sync with the thing too, the go path. Nope, it's there. Path. And that has codes bin. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, exiting out of that. Just close. There we go. Okay. Got a number of changes. Let's go look at this Git editor. Wow, look at all that crazy mess. So I'm going to say message is, well, first off, let's see, the commit, refresh, just for the heck of it, and then, yeah, so applying all changes, and control enter. No? Oh, yeah, it's flakiness. I don't know why you can enter it if there's nothing to commit. Anyway, fine and dandy. I'm going to go out here because I want to. Let's take a look. Yeah, all that stuff that I just nuked. So we don't need that secondary vendor directory. I think it put that in there because the other vendor directory already existed. I nuked the toml and the lock file, so the Go package dependency management tool, depensure, saw that vendor directory, realized it had no state based on that directory, so it created another vendor directory to put the vendored Go projects in to pull into the project and ignored the existing vendor directory. So lesson learned, don't do that. Let's see here. All right. Fixed vendoring issues, dependencies, and added configuration support for the basic configuration file. All right, get push origin master. All right, cool beans. So I'm going to go back out and look at the pull request and refresh that. Oh, and then if I, yeah, so if I go and do, that's not what I wanted. All right, so if I go in here now and take a look at that branch that I just merged and everything. So I go check out, oh, I'm in on it. So if I do git push added configuration, oh, git push origin added configuration, and that'll bump that up there into GitHub. And then I can go in, theoretically refresh this if I've not goofed up anything, and it'll be running a new build. Theoretically, it shouldn't get any conflicts. If I run Coligari, it'll error out because there's no server and there's no real error checking around getting a connection, verifying it exists, and either working or not working. It just bombs out at this point. So that's some code that needs added. But there is no conflict with the base branch anymore or anything like that. So this should just merge. And it has 2 pending checks. I'm not even going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and confirm it. Added configuration options. Everything is rosy. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that merge. And delete that branch. Now, if we go back over here, I just want to throw out a reminder. I did the generator tests, and I'm leaving this in this branch because it's standalone stuff, right? These other ones, though, I'm deleting as I go through because I don't really need them. if I need a branch as reference or whatever, I'll do a branch with the particular reference code and then just leave it there. Otherwise, I create the branch to work, and then whenever I'm done with whatever that is, I'll just nuke it. The other thing I'm doing per the Twitch stream specifically is if I do any work not on the Twitch stream, I will basically do what I just stepped through, which is set a pull request for whatever work I did. And then at the beginning of the next subsequent Twitch session, I'll actually go in and walk through the whole pull request and talk through whatever the code is that I added or changes or whatever, and then pull it in, get a good build, and then we'll move forward with whatever the next steps are, generally by deleting that branch and then creating a new branch to work in. So with that said, let's do just that. Git branch, git checkout master. Just out of paranoia, I'm going to do this one more time. Oh, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to push that into master. Actually, I'm going to git pull. Okay. And then, because remember, I just merged on GitHub. So this doesn't know that I merged in GitHub. So now I'm going to do git, I did the pull, and everything's synchronized because these changes are exactly the same as the other changes, no conflicts. So I'm going to do push origin master, and then that'll sync that this merge is synchronized with that merge in sequential order within the timeline of commits and all that kind of jazz. All right. Git stuff is mostly done now. Like I was saying, I'm on master. Let's do git branch -d added configuration. Whoops. Configuration. If you remember, we deleted it in GitHub, so no point in keeping it locally here. Scroll down, you see all the stuff still there. Let's get the terminal up. That is control backtick or control tilde, depending on how you look at it. Speaking of that fancy pants little character thing up there. And let's get a build again. And Colagary should break because there's nothing to connect to, which is correct. But if I run Colagary deluge, it should tell me what's in the configuration. All right, cool beans. So let's call this cleanup and refactoring. All right. So I'm going to go through and we're going to change the names of stuff on this configuration and then just make sure that the changes are made throughout the respective code base. After that, I'm going to talk through data types, program structure a little bit. If you're not familiar with Go, these are things that we're definitely going to need to have covered as we move forward and need to data type match with things that we're mapping to and from. In this particular case, like the first databases that I'm going to generate data for with this application are going to be most likely SQL Server, Postgres, Cassandra, and DataStax Enterprise. Those are the ones I'm aiming for first. In each of those, like SQL Server has in varchar, then the number of characters that can have. It has a text data type. It has an int, date, time, etc. Cassandra via CQL has various data types like that too, along with time, timestamp, and other elements. So those things need mapped back accordingly. And especially the number types, we need to make sure like an int 32 isn't attempting to be mapped into, an int 8 or whatever. An int 32 needs to go to an int 32, an int 64 needs to go to an int 64, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more after we do this short refactoring. All right. So in the config, Colagary YAML, port, actually let's remove this. We'll just call it cheese, because it doesn't really need to be port. We'll actually change connection URI. Let's call this base URI. So we're going to come up in here and call this, whoops, base URI. I need to case it appropriately. And cheese is fine. Server. We'll just call it name. Call it HQ. I'll tell you what this is about in just a second. All right. So name. This is going to be a string type now. Database and server. Database and server. Let's see where we get with that. Just changing those things. Build. Oops, URI undefined. Oh yeah, connection. There we go. So this is going to be base URI now. There we go. And this will be name. Perfect. Okay, looks good. Except obviously this was formatted for an int, not a string. So let's just do S. There we go. And there we go. All right. I'm going to add in new line. Actually, does this work? Can you do print line and pass in a formatter? Anybody know the answer to that? We're going to find out. Heh, that works. So it's interesting. I guess if you just want to format and you don't want any automatic new line characters or whatever, you use print F. Otherwise, you can use print line and either pass it a string or a string and then the variables that you want to concatenate and interpolate into the string overall, and it'll print that stuff out. All right, so let's see here. Now I want to do, I also want to rename, I don't want this to be database. I want this to be, does Visual Studio Code rename across the project? We're going to find out. We're going to call this base central, call this central base. Whoa. So that just nuked a bunch of stuff. Let's just do this. We'll do this central base. We'll do it manually. And then this becomes central base. And we'll, oops, central base configuration. And this is going to be central base, like so. And then in here, we're going to call this central base. It shouldn't be that much. Central base configuration. Base URI. Yes, no? Cool. So let's see where that gets us. There we go. So that worked. And I'm just going to leave server as server for now. I'll probably want to extend that later. The idea, again, for the Viper configuration, which is the auto configuration I'm using here, I have those two variables in two different configuration objects, the database and the server. There's going to be more settings that are needed at some point to pull service API calls or whatever. We'll add some of those in here. Now, for the configuration for the database schema and things like that, which I've talked about previously, that stuff is going to be, let's see, I think I have a sample somewhere real quick that we'll take a look at. There's Travis, YAML, oh yeah, schema. So basically the schema is going to look like this. So there will be another destination of where the data needs to go. And then there will be the respective schema that it needs to generate. Okay, so like this is going to generate all of this data. These are the types, but not just the types. They are basically the kind of thing that will be generated. So like a full name, first name, last name isn't just some random data. It's going to be a full name, a first name, and a last name when it's generated. So that's at least the idea with it. And these are sample configurations. They're located in the schema directory. So this is basically the one to go to Cassandra based on it being local host here. As you can see, you just change that to an IP if it needs to go off somewhere else. And right now I just have it set up for this type of auth, username and password, plain text. Probably not the best option. We'll add some more based on its capabilities. And then here is a console. It's just going to render that data and print it out and then generate it based on this right here. So full name of passengers, spit it straight out to the console and it'll generate 5 of them. That's the idea. And you can save, the idea here you see with execute is that you can save multiple types of schema. So you can save your past schema and then say execute it true means run it the next time you run Colligeri Deluge, or if it says false, don't run it next time. It's just a thing that you've saved. So you can keep it in the main directory and still process it. All right, so we did that little bit of refactoring. Clean up these files real quick. Now let's look at, we're gonna go write this sample. We'll just do it in, actually we'll do it in root. No, I'm going to leave that there. We'll do it in Deluge, actually. So that's pulling the configuration. But let's actually look at some other things. So there's a bunch of different types in Go. There's a bunch of different keywords. I believe there's 25 altogether. Things like if, select, return, import, interface, struct, switch, func, defer, like we talked about a little bit earlier, const for constant, chan for channel, and it has a go and go to reserved words too. One of the things also important to note when writing Go, you should use Camel Casing. That is the set standard of how people write Go code. Use Camel Casing. If you don't, it changes things. And the scope or visibility of certain variables, like if you uppercase them, so you say like, let's say var rock star variable, something like that, that changes the visibility of that variable throughout the program. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's see here. There's 4 basic types of declarations too. There's var. So we'll say, like, if we wanted to declare a variable, we can say var. Let's do Fahrenheit. I don't actually know how to spell Fahrenheit now that I think about it. I guess that's right. Yeah, so equals 212 degrees. That's boiling, by the way. So I made it a float by saying 212.0. When I hover over it, you can see that Visual Studio Code is telling me that it is a float. If I do that, save it, now it's an int. We don't want it to be an int, though, because things happen. And this is Fahrenheit has a bunch of decimals in it when you do calculations. So we'd want it to be a float. So there we go. We have Fahrenheit. And then let's say there's a result, another type. Then let's say we did, oops, did a calculation, 20 plus Fahrenheit. Now, this makes result an int. That's weird. That's super flaky. See? But this is a float. So I'm adding a float to an int. So in the result, let's see what we actually get. See, these are some important gotchas that you definitely need to know. $232. So you see it just yanked out the float, did not change the type, even though I have 212 plus 20 is 232, but it's not a float, it's an int now. So let's say Fahrenheit is actually, I don't know, it's not boiling, it's just really bloody hot out. It's like Phoenix or something, you know. So we have this. Now what's it going to be? Still an int. So if I do that, boom, 140.404. So Visual Studio Code doesn't really know through introspection what's up. It's actually recasting it as a float value because you get 140.404, not int. All right. Again, like I said, it's important to know how variables are managed within all of this stuff. Let's say I wanted to call a func. This is a very important thing to be able to call because basically Go is made up of nothing but functions throughout everything, basically. You can kind of delegate them. You can do other things with functions, but the core declaration is always pretty much function do. Where'd my thing go? There it is. Whoops. Do some computation. And then some value. And then let's say we have to give it a type. So let's say float, right? There's two types, 32 and 64-bit. So I'm going to go with float 64, and then I'll do another floaty. And I'll just call it float 64 too. And then let's pass something else into it. Anybody got variable you want me to declare? Anyway, I'll go with some story, right? We'll do string. So that's basically passing in parameters into the function as if it were a method or a function, right? It's a pretty standard thing. You do it with JavaScript, you do it with C#, you do it with all sorts of programming languages. Now, if you want to return a value though, you don't have to. I can just do the open curly braces like this and make it do something. But if I want to return a value, like let's say the result, I'm going to say it's a string. So you have to designate the type. You have to declare the type in the function structure here. And then whatever you return has to be a string. So if I now say var, actually let's take this stuff down here. Boom. All right, if I do that, let's go up here and actually call it, do some computation. And then I'm going to pass it 212.0 for boiling, and then 120.404. And then this is the story of this code, right? And then I'm going to actually use another type of declaration. This is called a short declaration, and just say result, and then it's colon equals. And that's going to take the result of the function that I'm working on right here, the string, and we can then print it out. So we'll say format result. Oops. Format.print result. There we go. And in here, I'm also going to print out some stuff. So let's say format.print. We'll use print line and say some story. Format print line. And we'll say, what was it? Another floaty like this. And then we'll print out the last one. Some value, right? And then we're going to return. So it says I have to return a string. So if I do this, what happens? Right? Let's see if I can build it. Nope. See, I can't even build it. It has to be a string. So what I'm going to do is change 45 to a string and make it the correct answer. Right? Didn't see why, but why using var? I'm just going through, is it Fultron? I'm just going through the different ways to declare variables so that I've covered all the bases whenever I step into some of the subsequent things that I'm going to build in this application. I want to make sure that everything's covered and that I have these things explained in detail so that there isn't confusion whenever I'm ripping through them later on. So I just did that, and then let's run Caligari. Come on, terminal. Oh, now it's not auto-completing for me. Oh, because I have to build it one more time. Oh, result declared and not used. Oh, but I printed it out. Right, result, return. Result declared and not used. Result is a string. I put it here, so it is used. Actually, let's look at concatenating string stuff. Printf. We'll do the result is. And what is it to percent s dot? And we'll say result. Oh, I'm being a dummy. So what happened is this result is declared and not used. So if I comment that out, we should be okay. Oh, Fahrenheit is also not used. That's right. I just passed all this junk in. So again, kind of awesome having a compiler that actually checks the data types, you know, gets rid of a lot of prospective errors before you go out and blow up stuff. So if I do deluge now, okay, we have this very last line. The result is 42. Then I have some value, which is being passed in, is 212. Okay, so you'll notice that some value, even though it's a float, 64, and it's 212.0 that I'm passing in, it only prints out just 212. So it takes off the 0, kind of makes sense. It's not really needed. 120.404, however, totally prints out, logically so. Again, it is a float 64. And then some story. This is the story of this code, and it prints out as a string right here. Now, port for this application. It's not the port anymore. It's called, I'm going to fix that. What did I call it? I called it, oh, just the name. Name for this, I'll call it server application is that. And then database URI is blah. So it's kind of weird. %s. Is that not? So the thing is, this is supposed to interpolate and concatenate this appropriately into the string. I feel like I'm missing something here because you'll see that the last one printed out result is 42 perfectly, which is right here. But these two now are not doing it right. So let's do a build again. And then run this sucker. Oh, note, I had changed it to print line. It needs to be print F for format, print format. Print LN is print line. So print format means it's going to interpolate and concatenate this stuff appropriately. So now that should fix it. But also it should be, yeah, it's now messy. I don't like that. So we'll just add our own line breaks for now. I don't really like doing that. I like it controlled by something. But it'll work for the time being. There we go. All right, nice and neat. One thing per line. All right. So we have float, and a string. Let's talk about one of the other things that is kind of, I mentioned it a little bit here. This is the short declaration. You'll see short declarations all over Go code. Matter of fact, I see a lot of Go code where all you see is short declarations. There are no vars, nothing declared in that sense. And already you'll see that the var is disappearing from this code base with just this short declaration and then the function here. So let's actually knock these two out, or let's redefine these, but do it with short declarations. So another way to do this is Fahrenheit colon equals that. Result equals, oops, this. All right. And then let's do something like random stuff equals ran dot float 64. I think that's it. It's probably gonna need the bits up top. Or is that a base library function? That is the question. Is it a base library function? Well, we'll find out in a second when I build it. Random stuff declared and not used. What is the... This is what I get for pulling stuff off the top of my head that I don't know quite yet. So let's do ran dot... I'm pretty sure that I have it right. Float, yeah, ran dot, oops, float, Golang, Thanks Google for fixing that. Ran, there we go. There we go. So float 64 returns as a float a pseudo random number in this, but it is part of math rand. Okay. Oh, it put it in though. When did it decide to put it in there? I'm not sure I like that feature. Code. What? Result declared. Oh yes, so that's right. All right, so now I have random stuff. If I wanted to get crazy, the results. Let's do something wild here and say the returned result and I think I can do this random stuff then plus there and result then we'll print out boiling. Let's see if we can do that. The returned result. So see, here's where we get some type conflicts, right? So if I do this, so cannot convert the results type untyped string to float 64. That is correct. You cannot. So let's see here. There's a command. Let's look that up real quick. Golang convert. We'll do float to string. Float to string. We'll need this. There we go. So parse float is basically what we'll need. And it is 64 bits, so I'm going to pull the whole thing here. Now I'm just going to paste this in, and let's see if Visual Studio Code will actually fix that for us and add the dependency up at the top in the imports. And I'm going to pull off the other pieces for now. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove them. I don't even want them in there. All right, the results, this, and then do a new line and say the story is, and then add some story. There we go. Can I use random stuff as type string and argument, string convert, blah, blah, blah. Stuff. Actually, let's just do this. See if we can get that to work. Multi-value string and parse float cannot be used for that. Oh. So let's see, some rand float So since string convert.parsefloat is a function, well, I'll talk about this in a second. Let's get it in here and see if we can make everything work appropriately. Cannot use rand float as type string and argument string convert parse float. Cannot convert the results. Wait, am I using the parse float? Oh, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want this. Using the wrong thing. I'm trying to go the wrong direction. Format float is what I want to do. Oh, and it's got a bunch of stuff. Let's see what all this stuff is. So the E, find format float. Hopefully, so that's byte, the precision, and the bit size. String convert dot format float. We'll do rand dot float 64. And I don't know, E sounds groovy, so E byte, E format byte. And then we'll do 2 and then 64-bit. So I'm going to switch 2 variables, but 1 values. Oh yeah, and this is where I was confused. So I was thinking that was a function that was going to return an error. However, I don't believe it is. Oh no, it is. Okay, so right, 2 assignment mismatch is in 49, yeah, 17. Right. I am not going to handle the error. I'm just going to assume that it's going to work. Can I use float rand 64 as type float 64 and argument string? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's because I didn't call the actual function. two variables, but one value. Two. There we go. All right. So it was just a single value returning function, format float. I guess if I had read the docs, it says that, right? So if you go over here, it says format func, and then this is the definition, like we were talking about a little earlier, and then the return value is a string. So go back in here, and then let's run that. Cool. So this is printing the result. The result is, and then it says the results, this, which is my value here. And then it says the story is, because note, I put in a return, carriage return here, and then it says the story is, this is the story of this code, blah, blah, blah. I wonder where it gets that other period. I don't know where the other period here comes from. Because yeah, I didn't add that. Anyway, so let's see what other types of, I wonder, oh, there's some RAND stuff. So it says, we'll fiddle with that later. So here's the idea. All that runs now. So we've covered the bases where this is the short assignment compared to like if I went in and said var the returned result equals this. Theoretically, in this situation, that should still work. There's nuances to a lot of these things. We'll talk about those more in the future. But for right now, I just wanted to cover some of them to talk about what each of these things are. Because the first thing I see a lot of people say when they see any Go code is like, what the heck is the colon equal thingy? Well, that's what it is. It's a short variable assignment that immediately gives it a value. So if you know what the value is going to be, you can just use it instead of var. Var is nice if you want to do something like var the returned result string, and then you want to go through and do a lot of work with it, like this. Let's just bloat this code up and we'll see what it looks like. The results like this, and then I'm going to do the return result. Let's see if the concatenate thing works. We'll do rand float. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and add all these bits here like that. And let's see if we get the same results. Ta-da! So same thing, different declaration. As you can see, just doing this is pretty clean when you have all the stuff available to go ahead and assign to the particular variable at that particular moment in time. Boom. But if you need to piece it together, work with it a lot, whatever, sometimes you want to just declare the variable and then go from there. All right, so we put together the pull requests and finish those up. So it has the Go SQL in there now, and it has the configuration for just the CL app specifically. And we have talked about some of the ways to assign variables, some of the data types, and the short declaration, those types of things, and how to declare a function. Just wanted to cover some of the entry-level bases there. And now let's talk about a little bit. I'm going to wrap up here in about 5 minutes. But what we're going to do in a subsequent stream is actually dig into the schema files that I talked about a little earlier and just get them to parse out correctly and make sure that they're parsed or formatted correctly in the way that they're stored. Because I hand-rolled these a while ago with the basis of like, what do I need to be able to, generate some data out to the console here? What do I need to connect to a Cassandra cluster, log in, authenticate, and then again, do the schema generation for that, those types of things. So we'll start digging into that pretty heavily. A lot of JSON parsing, things like that in the next Go session, which is, let's just look at that real quick. And then I have one more thing that I'm going to add right after this about some of the crazy videos that I'm going to be doing. And I have several of the shows put together already, and I'm going to publish one very soon on YouTube. But on Twitch, the next thing that is scheduled is all sorts of crazy Twitch stuff. So this is the one we're working on right now. The next one is a Terraform session on Friday at 10 a.m. I'm going to dig more into building out a Cassandra cluster with Terraform in Google Cloud Platform. So that one's pretty cool. A lot of useful tips and tricks there, gotchas and things like that with Terraform and Google Cloud. Knowing the ins and outs of the particular cloud provider when you're deploying a Cassandra cluster is pretty important. And then that same day at 3 p.m., I'm going to dive into the next steps with this Go code. And then I have one scheduled for Saturday. It's going to be continuing on with the Coligari app. And then I got a bunch of additional things scheduled, but I haven't specified exactly what I'm going to be covering in those. It's going to be some more Terraform, some more Go. I've kind of notched back on my C# apps. I'm going to be getting back into that though, and Node.js, but it's probably going to be early November when I get into the Node.js, JavaScript, and C# stuff. But that's going to be cool. It's going to be 99% backend stuff, like API services, stuff like that. No UI stuff, no React, none of that jazz. Awesome stuff, but I'm not working with it right now. And it's all going to be centered around working with data, moving data, making sure things can get the throughput they need on your servers, the deployment of those things, like the deployment of the servers that are going to run Node.js, the C# app or whatever, and all that kind of jazz, generally using Terraform. So now that I've said jazz a lot, I am going to egress. And right after this, though, if you stay tuned to my channel in about 2 minutes, I'm going to actually stream the second episode of my Thrashing Code show, which is basically not code, not anything like that. All it is just basically a travel show, food show, metal show. I talk about all sorts of goofy stuff, and I've just kind of put together a video on it to show what I do behind the scenes when I'm not writing code and putting together applications and deploying applications for companies and things like that. So stay tuned. It's going to pop up about 2 minutes after I cut this stream. So in the meantime, have a good one and stay tuned. Just another minute or two. I'm going to kick off that video. Just finding it so I can play it. There we go. Oh, joy. Of course. My sound doesn't work. Why doesn't the sound work? Yeah, I'll definitely talk about that, Voltron. I'm going to dive into a lot of stuff related to channels, multi-threading, like on, especially with the CLI, whenever it's generating data, it's going to pop out different threads to generate and send that data against the different APIs. So it can make multiple requests within, it kind of at the same time, basically. It's a pretty crazy useful thing to be able to do that. Like I've done that with some of the work I did with Honeycomb, some of the work I've done with Elasticsearch, things like that. It's great to be able to test the input throughput of a service when you have multiple threads running. So this is ridiculous. Any second now I'm going to figure it out. I'm just trying to make sure that the audio actually streams to the channel. Dun, dun. And it's still not going in there. Let's see here. Just going through all the things. Default. It's not default, I guess. It's going to be something else. Let's see if that does it. Does that do it? Nope. Ah. Okay. There we go. So enjoy the second show preview.
As you can tell from all the sun that glares in, it turns me into half invisible and everything. Isn't that just trippy? But yeah, so made it to California. We are a little late. Happens on the Coast Starlight. That's alright, because Sunday's just like a chill day for me. I'm gonna go ride a bike around, check out some San Jose, get some more footage of cool things, and just kind of explore. Have fun, explore, maybe have a beer, eat a cheeseburger, I don't know, whatever. California Amtrak rail yard here. You can see those new Surfliner engines, some of the double-decker cars, single-decker. There's a cabbage car, some more of the single-decker equipment. They have such a wide range of stuff. There's another engine getting fueled up or washed or something or other. Amtrak engineering. I mean, literally, thanks Obama, right? I mean, do you know how most of this stuff probably got funded? Yeah. Some old cars from I don't even know what decade. A lone engine they're probably using for switching or something. There's some buildings in Oakland in the background. I guess technically we are in Oakland, West Oakland. Cruising toward Jack London Square.
always trippy to be on a train and to be riding down the center of a street.
Chicken and waffle place. Love that place.
Jack London Inn. And
so then I sat down back in my roomette and got the map figured out for how I'm going to get from San Jose over to Santa Clara to my hotel. And then after a while in Oakland, we eventually got to San Jose. I detrained and
arrived at Diridon in San Jose. Oh, all intact.
So onward, but first, I found the Poorhouse Bistro. And this place was, well, check it out. The Cajun place seems legit, so here I am. Let's stay put, eat some gumbo.
Some crazy ass citrus and piney, whatever the hell this is. And some legit looking gumbo.
Then after a good bit to eat, I settled back into the saddle and got moving again. So I made it across these VTA tracks. No light rail coming at me. Saw a few trams go by whenever I was sitting there eating. As I roll on in this buffered bike lane, though, I see a Southwest Boeing 737 cruise overhead going into the San Jose airport there. On the trip, it's kind of cool. Just saw a continuous stream of airplanes coming into San Jose. They fly right over downtown. It's like if you're into airplanes, come sit here and you'll see about 50 million of the things coming in. Of course, like 95% of them are Boeing and Airbuses, so if that's cool to you, this is awesome. If those are boring, then, well, don't come watch airplanes here. Anyway, I cruise over here and I realize the street's blocked, but I follow this cool fella on across the street, and I know the trail starts somewhere over here, and I'm not really sure what I'm up for here, because the trail winds off around the Guadalupe River, and this is kind of the, I guess it's not the beginning of the trail, because some goes up into San Jose itself and goes into downtown, but this part is the part that leads into the most park-like area, really. So I cut over here, kind of cruise across, check out some of the little architectural pieces, and then I head on down the river to get over to my hotel that I'm staying at. So the exploration will be fascinating, I'm sure. And right here I saw my first glimpses of the airport over to the left. It's kind of slow going at this point. But so far, everything had been super smooth, super chill, no crazy traffic. So, kept on down the path for quite a ways, and like I was saying, it was super nice. Eventually though, I got to the point where I needed to merge onto the city streets. So I came up this clean, smooth pass, made a big old U-turn here to turn and go across an overpass. Saw a giant elephant, which was kind of like, holy shit, what's this elephant doing here? But then I kind of make a right-hand turn, go up over the overpass here, and then all of a sudden I realize, holy shit. I realize I've basically been directed by Google Maps and Cal State Dot onto the freaking highway on-ramp. And then I get over this thing and I'm riding through all this crap and trash on the side of the road, then through debris to get over the thing, and then I find that there's no ramp. Heaven forbid somebody like in a wheelchair is trying to get over here. They're screwed. So I have to actually pick up my bike to get back on the road. I get over here at a light, and then not only is this trap the thing, it directs me then onto a highway where there's like 40-mile-per-hour traffic. Eventually, long story short, I make it. I get over here, come rolling into the hotel. Thank goodness. It's a nice suites and everything. Really great place. Roll in, get checked in. I have survived. Thank goodness. Whew. Day 2, I am ready for a good night's sleep and for day 3 to kick off.